Harold, or Barney, as nearly everyone called him, was born in Danville, Pennsylvania on November 28, 1920, the son of Charles and Mary Barnhart. His father was a puddler in the Reading Iron Company big mill in Danville, and his mother was a housewife and loving mother of 8 children. They lived in a company home in a section of town known as Welsh Hill. Barney often said everyone there was poor, lived in company houses, and wore hand-me-downs and patches. But his family was probably better off than most because his mother was in total charge of the family finances. In fact, she was the one who loaned him the first $2,000 for the newspapers. By the time he was in 2nd grade, he was helping his brother pass newspapers, and as soon as he was big enough, got his own routes and was still passing papers when he graduated from high school and while attending Bloomsburg State Teachers College. He returned to Bucknell to get his B.S. degree and worked at the Danville News, then the Shamokin Citizen. He was called back to active duty during the Korean War, where he was stationed in Washington, D.C., writing equipment instruction manuals. Released from active duty, he took advantage of the GI Bill and got a master's degree in journalism at Columbia University. About the time he was completing courses there, he heard about a weekly newspaper in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania that was for sale. The day he picked up his degree, he took off to check it out. It didn't take long to find out how weekly the newspaper was. The Hollidaysburg Register, Cove News, and Williamsburg Journal were now throwaway newspapers, meaning there was no revenue coming in from subscriptions, and very little advertising revenue. Nothing seemed to discourage him. He just knew Blair County was the right place for him, and he was going to give the people there a weekly newspaper that would have local news, lots of pictures, and at times would be controversial. Yes, he was going to do it, and he did. In 1954, he published his first edition. He was the editor and publisher, also the photographer and reporter, and for a time sold advertising and helped make up pages and always helped put the paper to bed. At first, it also took persuading to get the suppliers to extend credit for paper, ink, and other needed supplies. Yes, he was busy, but loved every minute of it. He had his newspaper and he was happy. Before long, A.J. Steinbeing joined the staff as ad manager. They worked together for many years, and the papers grew and flourished. As the advertising revenue increased and more subscribers were added, office personnel, correspondents, reporters, and photographers were added to the staff. On February 14, 1963, papers were combined and the name changed to Blair Press, with 2 editions being published, the Hollidaysburg edition and the Roaring Spring edition. Nearly every home in Hollidaysburg and Roaring Spring had a subscription or purchased the paper from a newsstand. The offset process used cameras and film instead of metal. Full pages were pasted down, negatives made, and metal sheets were burned and prepared with photosensitive acid and placed on a new rotary offset press. Although he loved publishing the newspaper, the printing business was taking more and more of his time. Unable to keep up with both, he reluctantly gave up the newspapers around 1980. Without the newspaper, his interest in the business waned. The children took over, and he collected antiques.